7 a.m. local time this morning to release as many as 150 female and child detainees from Zionist occupation prisons. Algeria has been elected as chair of the Committee on Strengthening Cooperation and Assistance to the Anti-Personal Mine Ban Convention for 2024. And Algeria and Equatorial Guinea have agreed to consolidate the legal framework for bilateral relations through the conclusion in the near future of an agreement on the creation of a joint economic cooperation commission. Those were the headlines, and now the news in detail from Radio Algeria International. First, a humanitarian pause came into effect in the Gaza Strip at 7 a.m. local time this morning. This follows a Zionist offensive that persisted since October 7, resulting in the tragic murder of over 15,000 Palestinians, including 6,150 children, more than 4,000 women, and over 36,000 injured individuals. The 4-day humanitarian pause subject to extension will include the release of as many as 150 female and child detainees from Zionist occupation prisons. It also involves the delivery of badly needed humanitarian aid and fuel supplies into the besieged territory. Said Bougazi has more details in this report.
In the hours leading up to the ceasefire, the Zionist occupation forces intensified their airstrikes in the northern, central and southern regions of Gaza. These strikes targeted schools housing displaced civilians, hospitals and homes, resulting in dozens of casualties. Throughout the ceasefire period, hundreds of thousands of displaced Palestinians in southern Gaza will not be able to return to their homes in northern Gaza to assess the damage to their homes and properties. The Zionist occupation forces, which invaded the northern regions of Gaza with tanks and armored personnel carriers, have threatened to target returning civilians. Emergency and rescue teams will work to retrieve the bodies of victims from under the rubble. The number of missing individuals is estimated to be around 7,000, including over 4,700 children and women, revealing more atrocities committed by the occupying forces over the 48-day period. Earlier, President Mahmoud Abbas and the Palestinian leadership welcomed the humanitarian pause agreement, reiterating their call for a comprehensive halt to the Zionist aggression. They stressed the urgent need to spare Gazans further suffering and prevent the genocide of Palestinian children and women. The Secretary General of the Executive Committee of the Palestine Liberation Organization, Hussein al-Sheikh, stated President Mahmoud Abbas and the leadership welcomed the humanitarian pause agreement, appreciate the efforts of Qatar and Egypt, and renew the call for a comprehensive halt to the Israeli aggression against the Palestinian people. They also called for the entry of humanitarian aid and the implementation of a political solution based on international legitimacy, leading to the end of the occupation and the Palestinian people achieving their freedom, independence and sovereignty, he added.
The Indonesian hospital in the north of the Gaza Strip was stormed on Friday by Zionist occupation forces, causing the death of a Palestinian woman less than an hour before the humanitarian truce was due to come into force, according to media reports. The occupation forces stormed the hospital after shelling it and laying siege to it amid intense gunfire, which resulted in the death of a wounded woman and the wounding of 3 others. Medical sources quoted by the Palestinian news agency Wafa said that, or what the occupation is committing in the Indonesian hospital is a more horrible and serious war crime than what it was committed in the Al-Shifa medical complex. In the meantime, at dawn, Zionist planes targeted a residential building in the middle of the Gaza Strip, which caused a fire on the spot, causing a number of deaths and injuries, including children and women. Civil protection teams recovered 10 citizens from under the rubble following airstrikes on a house belonging to the Khader family in the town of Jabalia in the north of the Gaza Strip. And calm prevails today in the border area in southern Lebanon since the truce between the Zionist entity and the Palestinian resistance movements came into force in the Gaza Strip, according to the official Lebanese agency, a local photographer and residents. This calm comes a day after the Hezbollah stepped up its attack or attacks against the Zionist occupation army, which for its part shelled the border areas of southern Lebanon. On Friday, the Hezbollah claimed responsibility for 22 attacks against Zionist occupation positions from southern Lebanon, where it lost 7 of its fighters in one day. Journalist Amal Zahd and members of her family were brutally murdered last night in an Israeli airstrike which targeted their home in Gaza City. The crime adds to the toll of journalists who have fallen victim to the continuous despicable Zionist aggression in the Gaza Strip. With the murder of journalist Zahd, the number of journalists killed in the Gaza Strip since the beginning of the Zionist aggression on October 7 now stands at 64. Just yesterday, photojournalist Mohammed Ayyash and several members of his family were killed in an Israeli airstrike which targeted their residence in the Nusayrat refugee camp in central Gaza. Earlier this week, an Israeli artillery shelling targeted a team of journalists from Al Mayadeen TV in southern Lebanon, murdering the channel's correspondent Farah Omar and photographer Rabih Ma'amri. In the occupied West Bank, Jewish settlers have demolished the Palestinian Bedouin community of Al Qanoub east of the town of Zair in the southern West Bank province of Hebron. According to local sources, the community's residents had been displaced earlier this month amid death threats by settler groups. The settlers not only destroyed the homes but also took solar energy cells that the residents were using. Furthermore, they set up tents in the vicinity of the demolished homes, attacking anyone attempting to approach the area. 5 families, comprising over 27 individuals, had to flee their homes in the Al Qanoub area earlier this month due to attacks by armed Jewish settlers gangs. These attacks targeted their properties, resulting in the destruction of their homes and the theft of a large number of their sheep. The settlers threatened the residents with either death or eviction. Thousands of Cubans, led by President Miguel Diaz-Canel, marched yesterday outside the U.S. Embassy in Havana in a show of solidarity with the Palestinian people and demanding an end to the Zionist aggression on Gaza. Wearing a black and white Palestinian keffiyeh, Diaz-Canel was accompanied by Cuba's main leaders, including Prime Minister Manuel Marrero and Foreign Minister Bruno Rodriguez. Many people waved posters with the phrase "Free Palestine" with photographs of children killed or injured by Zionist bombs or flags identifying both Cubans and Palestinians. Others chanted "Free, Free Palestine," "Israel is genocide," and "Up with Palestinian freedom." Algeria has been elected to replace Thailand as chair of the Committee on Strengthening Cooperation and Assistance to the Anti-Personal Mine Ban Convention for the year 2024 at the 21st meeting of the state's parties, which began on Monday in Geneva. The mandate of this committee, whose new membership includes, in addition to Algeria, Japan, Denmark, and Turkey, is to assist the state's parties in fully implementing the provisions of the convention and the resulting action plans in order to put an end to the suffering and casualties caused by anti-personal mines. Said Bougazi has more details.
In its address to the meeting, the Algerian delegation highlighted the committee's priorities for 2024, which will focus in particular on encouraging partnerships and national mine action platforms, strengthening the exchange of good practice and coordination with donors in order to help states parties fulfill their mine clearance obligations and South-South cooperation. The committee will also have to contribute to the drafting of a new 5-year action plan with a view to its adoption at the 5th APMBC Review Conference scheduled for 2024 in Cambodia, with Algeria as vice president. By electing Algeria to head the committee, the state's parties are recognizing Algeria's pioneering role and experience in the fight against anti-personnel mines dating back to the War of National Liberation, as well as its significant contribution to achieving the humanitarian objectives of the convention. The president of the 21st meeting of the states parties to the Anti-Personnel Mine Ban Convention APMBC, the German Thomas Goebbels, was particularly keen to thank Algeria for its efforts and commitments in the field of mine action, underlining the importance of the African Regional Seminar organized by Algeria on 30th and 31st May in Algiers, the promising results of which were presented to the meeting by the Algerian delegation. On this occasion, the group of African states parties to the APMBC, as well as several participants, including the representative of the United Nations Mine Action Service UNMAS, expressed their deep gratitude to Algeria for organizing the seminar in question and for its contribution to promoting the objective of a mine-free Africa. The Convention on the Prohibition of the Use, Stockpiling, Production and Transfer of Anti-Personnel Mines entered into force in Nigeria on 9 April 2002.
And the Speaker of the National People's Assembly, Brahim Boughali, has underlined in Oran, Western Algeria, the growing role of young people in preserving the homeland. In a speech read on his behalf by APN Deputy Chairman Bouchikhi El Sheikh, on the occasion of the opening of the second Algerian Youth Forum organized by the Supreme Youth Council, Brahim Boughali underlined the growing role of young people in preserving their country while working hard for the country's social and economic development. Brahim Boughali said that the ball is now in the court of young people and we are moving towards the future at a steady pace thanks to these people and the great skills they possess. The Minister of Foreign Affairs and the national community abroad, Ahmed Attaf, held talks on Thursday with his counterpart from Equatorial Guinea, Simon Oyono Esono Ange, shortly before the start of the preparatory ministerial meeting for the 5th summit of the Group of 10 of the African Union on the reform of the Security Council in Oyala, according to a press release from the ministry. The Minister of Foreign Affairs and the national community abroad, Ahmed Attaf, also held talks in Oyala, Equatorial Guinea, with his counterpart from the Republic of Congo, Jean-Claude Jacosso, on the sidelines of the preparatory ministerial meeting for the summit of the Group of 10 of the African Union on the reform of the Security Council. And Algeria and Equatorial Guinea have agreed to consolidate the legal framework for bilateral relations through the conclusion in the near future of an agreement on the creation of a joint economic cooperation commission, according to a press release from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the national community abroad. The Minister of Foreign Affairs and the national community abroad, Ahmed Attaf, and his counterpart from Equatorial Guinea, Simon Oyono Esono Ange, discussed at a meeting held in Oyala before the start of the preparatory ministerial meeting for the 5th summit of the Group of 10 of the African Union on the reform of the Security Council, cooperation relations between the two countries and ways of strengthening them, particularly in the fields of energy and training, notes the same source. And finally, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and National Community Abroad, Ahmed Attaf, has received in Equatorial Guinea on the sidelines of the participation of the preparatory meeting or of the summit of the Group of 10 of African Union Security Council reforms, telephone calls from his Tunisian counterpart Nabil Ammar and his Mauritanian counterpart Mohamed Salim Wild Marzoug, and met with the Libyan Minister of Foreign Affairs Tahar Bau, according to a statement from the ministry. These talks, which are part of the tradition of consultation and coordination on issues of common interest, were devoted to an exchange of views on the ministerial meeting of the Union for the Mediterranean scheduled for the end of November in Barcelona, Spain, said the same source. The talks revealed that the positions of the brotherly countries were in agreement regarding this meeting, which is being held at a time when the Zionist aggression continues against the Palestinians in the occupied Palestinian territories, notably in the besieged Gaza Strip, underlined the press release. With this, we come to the end of this news bulletin. Time now for a weekly program, starting with my colleague Jamal Silmani with an interview with Zaid Rawas. This will be followed by another program by my colleague Azagasi. As for me, I'll meet you again tomorrow for a fresh edition of our news bulletin in English. Until then, stay tuned to Radio Algeria International, and bye-bye for now.
In the city of Oran at the 2023 NAPAC. With us today, Mr. Zaid Rawas, who is the director of Delancey Oilfield, which is a UK-based company. Mr. Zaid, thank you so much for being our guest today.
Thank you. Hello, good afternoon to you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here and to introduce myself and the company to you.
Mr. Zaid Rawas, please, could you just tell us a little bit about your company and the field you are specialized in?
Yes, so Delancey Oilfield, we are oilfield supply chain provider as well as a service provider. in terms of procurement supplies, service provider in terms of decarbonisation and logistics supply, not only to oil and gas, but also to the petrochemical and to mining industry.
And let me just see, when have you started operating in the country?
We've been here now since 2018. We actually started predominantly in 2017, but there was a lot of administration work involved. Actively 2018, and have been here since and looking to invest here heavily for future growth.
What are the main projects that you worked on?
The major project that we have worked on is for the refinery for Sonatrach Skikda, delivering spare parts such as valves and cementation, piping, as well as filters for the turbines.
Well, for turbines, as you know that this year we have a main theme, which is the progressive transitional energy, which is like the main topic for this year edition. In your point of view, what are the key technological advancements that you see that are crucial for a successful energy transition?
Well, what we're seeing here is very similar to what we're seeing in other parts of Africa and also in Middle East. Delancey has been heavily involved in the Middle East for decarbonisation, for natural gas, for renewable energy. So a lot of clients, and specifically the projects that we have undertaken over the last 24 months, including Occidental, based in Iraq, including TAQA, based in Abu Dhabi, to name a few. We are working collaboratively with them to reduce the CO2 emissions. So we provide a service for that part, for the purpose of consultation, the support, and also the supply chain for the interchangeable for the supplies to achieve that target. At the same time, we're also talking to Sonelgas and Sonatrach themselves in terms of renewable energy and the solar panels for greener energy for the future. These are ongoing projects which we hope to develop. There are some weaknesses that we see. There are opportunities that we see here in Africa, specifically here, also here for Algeria. So Delancey is here at NAPAC for that purpose, to address it, to promote our brand, and to be one of the forefront companies for that transition.
Speaking about Algeria and North Africa, what are specific challenges or opportunities unique to the region of North Africa in terms of energy transition?
In terms of energy transition, the weaknesses that I see, or the opportunities that I see here, is European, US manufacturers, worldwide manufacturers having the opportunities to embed their equipment, their technology here in the system, into the country, into North Africa. What so far, based on the dialogue that we've had with those manufacturers, there is a lot of uncertainty as to how to implement, how to market their activities here in Africa. Logistically is another issue. Some companies, language is actually an issue, but we as Delancey, we're working with those manufacturers worldwide to facilitate easy transition from parts of Europe, part of the US, and to have their businesses here. So it's a unique opportunity in itself, and we're trying to support them in that as well.
Mr. Zaid Rawaz, as the director of Delancey, how can we ensure a just and equitable transition?
I think by having a continuous improvement process, having an open dialogue, it's a constant conversation that we need to have between the contractors, between the government institutes, and also the service providers. Having a clear strategy as to what are the milestones we're looking to achieve and at what point we're looking to achieve that. But it all needs to be realistic and achievable.
How do you assess the Algerian market?
Algerian market, it's incredibly challenging, but of course with a set of challenges brings a unique set of opportunities. So far what we have found is that a lot of companies, a lot of IOCs, NOCs that are present here, they have their own unique set of challenges in terms of supply of materials or a database of high quality manufacturers whom they can contact for supply of materials. So this is certainly the advantages of being here at NAPEC, and over the last 3 days we have been able to converse directly with the likes of Sonatrach, directly with IOCs and further afield. And we see opportunities there. We see there is still improvements to be done, to be had. But we are very confident that whilst we are in conversion with these IOCs and NOCs, that we will overcome these challenges.
Can we talk about future cooperation, partnership with other companies here in the country?
We certainly, it's our main objective for next year, and it's one of the reasons, primarily is the reason why we're here for NAPEC. We saw it as a unique opportunity to introduce Delancey to not only to Algeria but to the wider African countries. Specifically for Algeria, we are looking for 2024 to make a huge contribution to the economy here, to invest heavily here into Algeria. We're looking to set up multiple offices and multiple service workshops in Hassi Mas'oud, in Skikda, in Wahran, and also in Algiers. So we see next year as a huge milestone for us.
What are the potential economic impacts, both positive and negative, associated with a rapid energy transition, knowing that many experts during the 3 days, rang the alarm and said that we need an energy transition really because time is running out?
Absolutely. We see a lot of companies now are looking for transition. For example, BP, whom sadly left the region here. They are a company, being a UK-based company ourselves, Delancey, we see a lot of marketing being done from UK NOCs in terms of transition. So we see there is a uniqueness here in Algeria in terms of this transition, but of course this will take time. This needs a lot of patience, and for us, Delancey, we are embracing that unique opportunity that's forthcoming in the year ahead, and we hope to become a part of it.
What are the measures taken by Delancey for mitigating the impact of climate change?
For us, sustainability is a crucial factor. For us, we're taking incredible measures not only in our UK headquarter office but also globally. We're talking about less travel, electric vehicles. We're looking about less usage of transferable heat and more in terms of green gases and green energy, as it were. And at the same time, we're taking small steps and incredibly large steps, some of which I have named, but also the usage of paper. We're limiting that. Before, we were using, just in our UK office, in the region of about 2.5-3 tons of paper per year. Now we're trying to limit that as much as we can. So currently, so far this year, we're in the region of about 800, less than 1 ton.
Zaid Rawes, you are director of Delancey Oilfield, a company based in the UK. Thank you so much for answering our questions and being our guest for today.
Thank you so much.